have 300 seconds to talk about The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent.
Wait!
What?
How are we going to talk about character setting, writing style, and give our rating without spoiling anything in just 5 minutes?
Taylor, that doesn't matter. Now, before we begin this recommendation, this book does have violence, gore, swearing, and sex. So, if it was a movie, it would be rated TVMA, so no minors.
18 and below, you gotta go.
Exactly.
And if you'd like to support Keimi the Bird, our Venmo is at Keimi the Bird. Thank you.
Yeah, our 5-minute book recommendation of The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent begins now.
Now, we're going to start with the synopsis. And the synopsis is actually not included in our 5-minute time because that would take too long. So,
yeah,
forgive us.
Yeah.
Anyways, here's the synopsis.
Ooh.
Many years ago, the vampire king of the House of Night came upon a little human girl and the remains of her family and the rebellion he just suppressed. In her silver eyes, he saw himself, a serpent who would do anything to survive, and impulsively took her in. Now, Oriah understands just how large a weakness being a human in a palace full of vampires is.
Blood.
You're gonna get in. The fear of death has permeated her bones all her life until the centennial tournament of the goddess Nyaxia arrives, offering Oriah a way to power she's never had before. However, to win, she has to compete against the bloodthirsty houses of her country, each bloodline known for being brutal, unforgiving, and merciless. As the only human contestant, she'll have to outwit her significantly stronger opponents, one of which is Rain Ashraj. What?
Ashraj.
It's Leviosa, not Leviosa.
Ashraj. Thank you for the assist. A vampire from the imposing side of the impending civil war. As the competition grows fearsome and Rain and Oriah become closer, Oriah knows her humanity is her ultimate weakness.
Oh.
Will her human heart finally bleed out?
Ooh.
Ooh. Okay, now our 5 minutes start.
Yeah, the start right now. Our main character is Oriah. Our 3 words that we would use to describe her are distrusting, honest, and cutthroat. What did you think about our protagonist, Taylor?
I thought our protagonist, Oriah, I thought she was a strong protagonist. She's grown up as a human. She knows she's vulnerable, and she's not naive to that. She understands her position in court. She understands that she could literally be torn apart at any second. And so every second of her life is then thus filled with training and becoming as hard and fearsome as she can. And I liked that she had that grit and that hard edge.
Yeah.
She did come into one of her abilities, I feel like, a little easily. But it's neither here nor there, even though I did mention it.
Even though we will talk about it.
So what did you think about Oriah?
I liked her. I liked her as the protagonist. I think she fit very well within this story. And I loved that I could tell her motivations from the start to the end. Her development lacked a little bit for me, particularly in the last fourth of the book. Again, I really liked her through the middle half. Very specific, but it's fine. But overall, I really liked her. And I think I'm very interested to see where her character goes. And I'm hoping it goes in a certain direction.
Now, our secondary character, and by secondary I meant second in line. He's kind of a main character.
He's a love interest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rain Ashraj. We describe him as calculated, duplicitous, and warm. So, Keimi, what did you think about Rain?
He's an oxymoron. It's strange because I actually really liked him. I think that he was a character in his own right, which is not very common in male love interests and romantasies. But I thought he was intriguing, and I liked that he was different physically and personality-wise. There are a couple things that I would have liked him to do, but that's spoilers, so look for the discussion.
Ooh, she's tantalizing you all. Don't fall for it, or do.
Fall for it.
Yeah, I felt like Rain, he was interesting in that he did have contrasting traits. He did have that cunning edge to him, but then he also came off as very genuine and not like other vampires.
Oh, it's like everybody's not like other people.
Everyone's unique. And I liked that he did stand out as a male love interest in the romantasy space because he's not your typical, even though physically he is kind of like your tall, dark, and handsome, his personality, I felt like, did separate him from the rest because he is, you described him as playful earlier. He is more playful. He is a little bit, he's not as serious, I feel like, but then serious at the same time.
Yeah, there's good balance. But is he a big as red flag as his hair?
Did you say that just because his hair is red?
Yeah.
If it works, it works.
Now, the story takes place in the country of Obatreus. Pronouncing that wrong, it's fine. Primarily in the House of Night and the Moon Palace, two settings that are tinged with a crimson mist and an overlying threat of death.
Keimi came up with that line because she just deserves credit for it always.
Thanks. Taylor came up with most of the synopsis. But Tay, what did you think about the setting?
I liked the setting. In our 15-minute recommendation, I talked about how I really enjoyed the architecture of the setting because I feel like that really sold the setting. It really sold the vampiric essence, the gothic nature, the dark and bloody, cunning, anything could happen at any time. The halls are stained with blood.
It's true.
And so I felt like the setting very much got across that very bloodthirsty, very gory, very violent aspects of the book, but still also retained that beauty in the architecture.
Yeah.
So that very interesting balance. I also liked the mythology and how it was threaded throughout the book as well. But what about you?
I really liked the setting. I think it was a very interesting take on vampires, particularly with the lore that was kind of embedded throughout the story. There are some things here and there that I personally would change because it's a romantasy trope, apparently, but it's fine.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes, it's fine. But overall, yes, I really actually did love how many layers there were to the world building. I think that this story, we could only have Araya in this story, which kind of is a lot to say for a book. So overall, yeah, I think Carissa Broadbent did a good job.
Now, speaking of Carissa Broadbent,
we're going over 5 minutes. Sorry.
Now, speaking of our author, Carissa Broadbent, what did you think about her writing style?
Overall, I liked it. I think there are some things here and there that I could kind of pick on because I'm a little nitpicky. Mostly just that it's a very common trait in romantasy writing in that a lot of it's overemphasized when it doesn't need to be. I think authors should really just let their writing speak for itself. Like a lot of it, I don't think that Carissa Broadbent really had an issue with show not tell, but then she would tell,
undermining the show.
Exactly. So there was a lot of you said this phrase of doubling down, which I think one could have made the book shorter. Not that it was too big, but it just could have made it more concise. And two, just I think would have made the flow and the pace go a little bit better.
Yeah, I think overall I really liked Carissa Broadbent's style. She created a world that was its own. She created interesting characters. I liked the mythology. The mythology as well also felt different. Like everything had its own unique spin. This story stands out within the romantasy market, which I think is important because romantasy is very popular, of course. I think some of the only notes I had was a little bit of the pacing, and then the action scenes were a little bit hard for me to understand, and I'm a big action person.
Yeah.
However, overall, I do think that if you do enjoy layered world building, but also enjoy romantasy, that this book's your bad boy.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty well-balanced thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now onto the scariest part of the episode, our rating.
Oh my gosh. Should
Keimi,
I change it? No, I'll keep it.
We just changed it across.
We'll stay consistent since it's really important to me.
So, Keimi, on a scale of 1 to 7, 1 being literal trash, 7 being fangirl mania, what would you rate The Serpent and the Wings of Night?
Overall, I think this is my favorite romantasy that I've read. And because of that, I think I'll give it a higher rating than I usually would. But there are some things here and there that I had some issues with. Character development. The ending. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 4.8. It's right between Page Turner and Feeling My Shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this actually used to happen a lot when we first started Kiwi and the Bird.
Yeah.
And then it kind of stopped, but we're going back to it. I'm going to match your rating of 4.8. Because I did like that this story stood out. I did like that the characters were unique. They were very realistic for their settings. They're memorable as well, which I think is a big thing in books in general. I just had a few notes here and there. Some weighed in more heavily on this rating than others.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I'm going to give it 4.8. But 4.8, that's solid.
It's a pretty solid. It's a page turner.
It's a page turner.
And it's almost feeling your shelf.
Yeah. It turned our pages. It almost touched our shelves.
Right in line with the romantasies. Thank you so much for joining us on today's 5-minute recommendation. Check out our full 15-minute recommendation. It's longer than that. On our Kiwi and the Bird podcast.
And be sure to follow us on social media on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and more.
Gmail.
We go by @Kiwi and the Bird.
Join us for our next episode where we discuss the Serpent and the Wings of Night in full detail. And remember, like a library, at Kiwi and the Bird, happens.